Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Allen, and I'm a senior at Wayne State. And today I'll be presenting on the roles of the House of the Commons, the Senate, and the Governor General in the Canadian legislative process. These three institutions form the backbone of how laws are made in Canada, and each one has a specific function that helps ensure laws are created thoughtfully, democratically, and responsibly. By the end of this presentation, I hope you'll understand what each of them does, how they interact, and why these checks and balances are so important for the legislative process. What is a legislative process, you might ask? Well, the definition of a legislative process from the House of Commons website is a critical function of Parliament involving the drafting, debate, and passage of bills into law. Canada operates under a system known as a constitutional monarchy and a parliamentary democracy. That means they have a monarch represented in Canada by the Governor General. But real political power lies with elected representatives. The legislative branch includes the House of the Commons, the Senate, and the Governor General, and they work together in what's called the legislative process to turn ideas into actual laws. Each step of that process ensures transparency, accountability, and fairness in lawmaking. And today, we'll walk through how that all works. This chart gives a basic overview how a bill becomes law in Canada. A bill can be introduced in either the House of the Commons or in the Senate, although most originate in the House of the Commons. The bill then goes through several readings and debates in committees and amendments. After the House passes the bill, it moves to the Senate for another round of review. Once both chambers approve it, it is then sent to the Governor General, who gives it royal assent before it officially becomes a law. This process can take weeks or even months, depending on the complexity and importance of the bill at hand. Going into each individual role, the House of Commons is the main lawmaking body in Canada. It is made up of members of Parliament who are elected by Canadian citizens in each riding. The House is responsible for introducing most legislation, especially financial or budget bills, which cannot start in the Senate. Bills go through three readings here with opportunities for debate, amendments, and committee review. The House also plays a critical role in holding the government accountable through question periods, confidence votes, and debates. Because its members are elected, the House is the most direct representation of the people's voice in government. Moving on to the next chamber, the Senate. The Senate is sometimes called the chamber of sober second thought. It is composed of 105 senators who are appointed by the Prime Minister and serve until age 75. The Senate's main job is to review and refine legislation passed by the House of Commons. While it can delay or amend bills, it rarely blocks them entirely. Its purpose is to ensure legislation is sound, especially from a regional, minority, or even long-term perspective. For example, senators often use their expertise to flag legal inconsistencies or suggest improvements that make laws more effective. While unelected, the Senate adds important depth to the review process. The next aspect is the Governor General. The Governor General is the King's representative in Canada and serves a mostly ceremonial role, but also plays an essential part in the legislative process. Once a bill passes both chambers, it must receive royal assent from the Governor General to become law. This step is mostly symbolic in modern times, as the Governor General acts on the advice of the Prime Minister and his cabinet. However, their role also includes summoning or dissolving Parliament, calling elections, and ensuring continuity of the government itself. They are seen as a neutral figure who represents the unity of the nation above political debates. Looking at all three together, each institution has its strengths and they rely on each other to make the process work. The House of the Commons, as the elected body, is the most powerful in initiating laws. The Senate serves as a buffer, offering more technical and long-term perspective. And finally, the Governor General finalizes the process, ensuring constitutional formality. These relationships create a system of checks and balances. For example, the Senate can hold up legislation and demand improvements, and the House can reject the Senate's amendments. This back and forth ensures that the bills are carefully considered from multiple perspectives before becoming law. Let's look at a real-life example. Bill C-64, also known as an Act Representing Pharmacare. This bill was introduced in the House of Commons in February 2024, and it aims to establish the foundation for a national pharmacare program, beginning with the coverage of diabetes medications and contraceptives. After its introduction, the bill went through the usual process in the House of Commons: first reading, second reading with debate, committee study, and eventually a third reading vote. The bill was then passed and moved to the Senate, where senators began reviewing its long-term financial and social implications. They considered whether the bill adequately addressed the province's roles and how sustainable the funding model would be. If the Senate makes amendments, the bill would then go back to the House for reconsideration. Once both chambers approved the same version of the bill, it would then be presented to the Governor General, who grants royal assent, making it law, and this example shows how legislation moves through the layers of review and reflects input from elected officials, appointed experts, and constitutional oversight before it becomes part of Canadian law. You may be wondering, why does this matter? Why does the legislative process matter in the first place? Well, the answer is a little bit complex, but it basically comes down to this. It's to protect democracy. Each state adds a layer of scrutiny. The elected House represents the will of the people, the Senate ensures long-term thinking and regional fairness, and the Governor General ensures laws are passed in line with constitutional rules. These checks and balances prevent any one group from having unchecked power and helps avoid rushed, harmful, or undemocratic laws, as well as encouraging collaborative decision-making between the lawmakers. As a summary, the House of the Commons drives the lawmaking process and reflects the people's voice. The Senate reviews legislation for deeper accuracy and fairness, and the Governor General provides the final constitutional step through royal assent. Together, they create a system that is democratic, balanced, and thorough. Understanding how they work together is essential to understanding how power is distributed in Canadian democracy. They distribute this power through checks and balances, such as reviewing each other's legislation and reviews. And I'm going to leave you with one question. Do you think that this process can be amended to be better, or do you think that this process is outdated? Let me know in the comments below, and thank you for your time in listening to this. Have a good rest of your day.